Hey, everybody, it's LeAnn. I am so excited to be here again today. Well, aren't I every single week? But I have to tell you, today's guest is someone special. She is an award-winning, best-selling author, motivational speaker, and get this, kindness ambassador for loving parents who want to raise kind children. Today's parents can see how some troubled teens are turning to devastating acts of violence because, they just don't see any other way. And consequently, those same parents want to make sure that they are doing everything in their power to raise healthy, happy, and kind children. So, through her divinely inspired video messages, blog posts, and fun with bubbles style, she is here to encourage parents to be the CEO of their families, cultivate an atmosphere of fun, happy moments with their children, and do this through acts of kindness. When she's not uplifting parents, she volunteers at the Home for Life. She also enjoys time with her sons, delights in her pets, and likes to go hiking and kayaking. So get ready to change the world today with my guest, Teresa Ramirez. Teresa, are you there? Come on forward. Let's see you.
Here
There
we
she
go.
is.
Hi.
Yay. So I'm curious, what is the fun with bubbles?
The fun with bubbles is, Nick, I explain to parents when someone's yelling at you or you're in a conflict type situation and our knee-jerk reaction, so to speak, is to lash back out. And I say, take a pause. And the pause is just a deep breath and let it out. Well, that's tough for kids. So I recommend the bubbles because to blow bubbles, you have to take a deep breath and blow it out. And it's fun for kids and they remember it. So
That is
that's what I
cool.
recommend.
I love bubbles. In fact, I found a bubble machine at a garage sale, no
Oh,
joke,
wow.
and bought it. And I brought it out to our boat. And every once in a while, I'll just turn it on, and suddenly there's bubbles floating all over the dock, and it's just fun. Bubbles make people
It
happy.
is. It's just a lot of fun. And it's something you can do with your kids, have fun with it, but then also that's how you pause.
Very cool. And you're at least the second guest that I have that actively mentions kayaking, which I have never actually done. How far do you kayak, or is that how it is that?
Not very far.
Okay.
Not very far, but there's in Cincinnati, there's a little Miami River and they have kayaking. So it might just be a few miles. And you go downstream and then you get on the bus and it brings you back. So you don't have to go back upstream. It's not really hard. I also have friends with lake houses and we kayak there.
Oh,
So it's
beautiful.
just a lot of fun, good exercise, but it's not too tough.
Yeah, I think she's competitive. And I heard something about 50 miles the other day.
Yeah, there are people that do that. I'm not one of them.
Well, I still need to get in a kayak at all, and I do want to. I mean, any kind of boating, water thing,
Oh yeah.
I want to try. Although I pretty much, well, I should try sailing again too. I haven't done that since I was a child either.
Oh wow.
So what part
Heck
of
yeah,
the,
that's what
yeah, what part of this United States are you in?
I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay, excellent. And so you're an entrepreneur. How long have you been an entrepreneur?
I've been an entrepreneur, oh shoot, that's 8 years.
Okay,
About well, right, yeah, somewhere in there.
and before that, what were you doing?
Before that, I worked in the health insurance world for 30 plus years. So after I did that, I was also needed to take care of my aging parents. So I was traveling 2 hours one way at least once a week. And so I spent half the week here and half the week there. And I decided that I wasn't giving them the attention that they needed when I was there. So I took early retirement and I spent 5 years then caring for my parents.
Well, I would guess a very early retirement because if anybody's just watching the podcast, come on over to YouTube and check us out. She does not look like she was anywhere near retirement 8 years ago at all. But then you got inspired by this. Was this before or after you took that early retirement that you started doing what you're
It
doing?
was it was before, like probably a year or so before I actually retired. There was a school shooting,
Mm,
and no, I didn't know anyone in it, but it was down in Florida. And I don't know if it was just like, I have had it. We need to do something better. And God was kind of whispering in my ear, going, you need to do something. I want you to do something. Um, and so I wrote a letter to students and I grieved with them. I sympathized with them. And then I said, you know what? There's something you can do. You don't have to wait for the laws to change. You don't have to wait for school policy to change. You, as a student, just go sit with that kid that's sitting alone at lunch. When somebody dumps books, pencils, kids drop stuff all the time. Help them pick it up. Don't stand there and laugh. Just say, pick it up, treat them the way you want to be treated. And you will see a definite difference in your school when each one keeps going. And from there, I did a 21-day kindness challenge for kids. So it's, who do you encounter during your day? So you wake up, you encounter your parents, your siblings. So you have to be kind to them. And here's day one, here's ideas on how to be kind. Day two, you're walking out the door. So you've got a bus driver, carpool driver, how to be kind to them. You get day three, you get to the school. Do you run into the principal, your teacher, cafeteria workers, and custodians? I call them invisible people because they are essential to our life. But sometimes we just kind of pretend they're not there. So are we addressing them, thanking them for what they're doing? And anyway, but it went on for 21 days. And I think I ended up with be kind to the planet. So that's picking up trash. If you're really industrious, planting trees, those kind of things. And then being kind to animals, taking old blankets and towels to the local animal shelter.
mm.
If you do get a pet, make sure it's spayed or neutered, all those kind of things. So that's kinds of rounds out the 21-day kindness challenge.
Aw.
And got to go speak at some schools, which was so fun. The kids are just a lot of fun. But like everybody else, COVID hit in 2020.
So what
So
age group were you speaking at schools? What school age?
yeah, junior high and high school
Oh,
at that
really?
time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
a lot of it, I was thinking it would be younger children, honestly, with the bubbles and things like that. But
Yeah. But you know what? They love they love the bubbles at the
well,
junior high and the high school level. Even, I mean, everybody loves bubbles.
right. Case
So
in point, lots of gray hair, still love bubbles.
I would have had COVID not happened. I did have a couple elementary schools, lined up at that time, but COVID hit. So like everybody, I landed in front of the computer, reading what everyone's writing, going, "You're adults, and this is the way you're talking to each other." I was Did you not notice this? I was horrified.
Um,
I was horrified with some of the things adults were saying. And that got me thinking, your kids are reading this. And I have nieces and nephews who confirmed, yeah, we have to make sure mom's not posting about us. We hate that when she does that. So they're reading it, but and in their mind, they're in the back of their heads are saying, well, if they can post that, so can I. So I'm like, oh, I need to get to the parents because we can do all sorts of things in the school, but if they come home and it's a totally different opposite story, it's not going to work. So we need
right.
to get back to the parents. And I switched my whole spiel
Okay. So
to
now you really do focus on talking with the adults more so. Oh, that's
absolutely.
cool. So, okay, you'd not been an entrepreneur prior to this, though. I mean, do you ever remember wanting to be an entrepreneur prior to this?
Oh, I'm probably, there was, I remembered when I got my cat, I was like, okay, what do I do with this thing and this litter box? And I wanted to make this easy peasy litter box thing. And I actually had kind of sort of a prototype, but I didn't know where to go with it, what
Uh,
to do with it. And then now, uh, so it just kind of fell in the water. But now I see it, the electronic, it spins and it cleans itself practically. And I'm like, well, that's what I wanted to do. But somebody else had the engineer and the connections, and I didn't.
Yeah, it's funny, I say that my sister and I are both entrepreneurial, but I say that my parents weren't. My mother, worked bookkeeping and really great steady job. My dad became an RN, but the kind of job where he went to work and he came home. He didn't have to take it home with him. There was no paperwork to do at home. But you just reminded me, he was also an inventor. And he would come up
Mhm.
with the craziest crafty things. One of my favorite as a kid is he figured out a way to insert a needle kind of thing, a curved needle, into an egg, like an eggshell of a liquid egg, and stir it up. And we would get hard-boiled eggs that kind of had the yolk all kind of mixed in with the white.
Oh, that's
Clever, right?
cool.
Yeah, totally cool. And then one day I was coming home from school, stopped off at the whatever, Snyder's drugstore or whatever it was, and there it was on the shelf. Somebody else had also invented it, and there it was. And I wanted to buy it, but I didn't have the money. It was probably $10 or something. But I told my dad about it. I think he did pick one up, and it didn't work very well. And I don't think it sold very well either. I mean, it's a cool idea, but
Yeah.
it's not a need.
Yeah.
More fun at
Like that.
Easter, I think, than anything else.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, he
I
invented
knew
quite a
somebody
few
that
different
did
things.
that and drained the egg, but then they would paint the egg shell
Oh yeah.
in these intricate patterns. And then, yeah, but very fragile.
Oh yeah.
They were stunning.
Now,
They
you know
were
what?
absolutely, they were fragile.
They actually paint it before they drain the egg because it's a lot easier to paint it with the egg in it. And then they blow it out after.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, they're beautiful. Cool. Well, I have more questions for you, but we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. Um, we have a lag. Do you see that? Is it just me?
I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't really matter because but your audio and video are at a different timing. Do you have anything open that could be sucking your energy?
Maybe let me just double check. I'll
And you
just,
slid offside too.
I'm sorry. I do that often.
That's okay. And we're back. We are talking with Teresa Ramirez, who is the kindness queen. Is that okay? Can I just call you that?
That's just fine.
I made that up. But she has spent the last 8 years of her life really diving into kindness, starting out by teaching kids kindness, but then realizing it was sometimes the adults in the kids' lives that needed to learn a little bit more about kindness. Now, in my introduction, it kind of said that the parents are wanting their children to be kind, but then what you just said was almost the opposite, that you realize that sometimes the parents don't realize that they're not being kind.
Sometimes.
Wow.
What, because everybody, when I talk about, being kindness, they just, well, we are kind. And I'm like, okay, so are you doing X, Y, and Z? Are you being intentional? Are you setting yourself as CEO and saying to your kids, this is the values I want to instill in you. This is what we're going to do this week to show kindness. And they're looking at me like I've got three heads. But I said, we have to make it intentional. And you've seen it. Our world needs it so much right now. And it breaks my heart when I see a stabbing, another shooting, a car driving through a crowd, those kind of things. It's horrific and tragic, but we can make a difference. And I think that's where people miss that your actions and your words and your behaviors, we can make a difference. And you're your children's number one role model.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And I know. you joined me on a community that I host on Mondays called Leaders League, and you shared a story there as well about a waitress, a server,
Yes.
however you want to phrase that, that was having a rough day. And you said it wasn't easy to be kind, but you were anyway. You want to tell that story briefly?
It's not always easy to be kind. And I always say kindness is a strength because it takes strength in many situations to be kind. And in that case, I was having lunch with a friend and the place was busy and we had to wait for somebody to come over and serve us. And when she did, she came over and said, "What do you want?" And we're like, well, we got a couple questions about the menu. I don't know. I was told to come over and take your order. What do you want? And we're like, so we placed our order, and I don't think the food came. The food was fine, but I don't think she like refilled a coffee or water or anything.
Yeah.
And at the end of the meal, she comes over and slams the bill on the table, and we're like, oh my gosh. So my friend and I actually were intentional. We said we could call over the manager. We have every right to call that manager over. She was rude. And, we thought about it and talked about it. And I finally said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to give her a normal tip and I'm going to write a note on her receipt. So I put, "You are designed to shine" on her receipt with a little smiley face. And then we just gathered up our stuff and walked on out. And she chased us into the parking lot. And with tears, she says, "Thank you. I really needed to hear that today." And she just spun on her heel, went back to work. And it always reminds me that personal pain is as unique as a fingerprint. You never know what somebody's going through. So you should always be kind.
Yeah.
Even though you have every right not to be, you really have to change your perception and be kind. And it paid off. In that case, it paid off.
Yeah. Our youngest daughter is actually in hospitality. She chose that as her major in college. So, hospitality management. And yeah, she runs into a few people who are less than kind and
I'm
handles it
sure.
with incredible grace. But she's got the biggest heart. I'm very proud I mean, I'm more proud of this than she is, I think. But she recently recorded with her church worship team, and she played keyboard on their album, that or the song that they recorded at least. So very excited about that. But she really genuinely comes from a place of love in her career in many ways as well. But I will say sometimes, it's easier to love not mom. Have you met not
Hey,
mom? Not moms
I
are
haven't
all.
met a not mom yet.
What's that?
I said I haven't met not mom yet, but
Yeah. What you do have, you said sons, is that correct?
I have sons. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And so there's mom, and there's how you treat mom and dad, and then there's not moms and not dads. And I think, I'm proud to say that sometimes it's a little easier, at least, to know that parents, if you're worried, and your kids are maybe a little sharp with you, they're often just fine with the rest of the world. But everybody needs to have somebody that they can let a little steam off with. And mom is often a good option. I mean, for some people at least.
Well, and I think kids know mom and dad are going to love them no matter what.
Yep.
So they get a little snippy sometimes
Hmm.
with mom and dad, but mom and dad are still going to love them. The
Absolutely.
rest of the world,
But do you have any advice for mom or dads who feel like their kids are getting a little too snippy, a little too much?
it's going to be a case by case, but just kind of, you know, remind them, you know, I treat you with respect. You can treat me with respect. I don't speak to you that way. So let's not speak to me that way. If you're really upset about something, let's sit down and talk about it. We don't need to have the tension all the time.
Right.
Now it's harder with the teenagers, I know that. But this is where sitting down with your kids as the CEO and saying, these are the values we are going to instill in ourselves and in the world, that sets the stage. I'm not going to, I don't like it when you disrespect. We're not going to go there. And, you list your rules. And once a week, we're going to do this act of kindness. We're going to pick one and we're going to do it as a family. Um, I had one couple that said, yes, I sat down with my kids and we went through our list, and the kids, actually two boys in high school, said, we have a list too. Well, it wasn't a list, it was one thing. And okay, shoot, we want to eliminate the word hate.
Mm.
They had seen how destructive that word is,
Mhm.
and they just wanted to never use that word again. So there was like a jar at their house. So if the word hate was ever said, they had to put money in the jar. So, and then they donated the money to whatever charity they picked that week.
Aw.
So kids will surprise you. I just think they come, because I would never have thought of that,
Yeah,
but they sure did. And because they noticed, but it also made them think. Their parents helped them think about that. And that's what you really want.
for sure. Now, you've been an entrepreneur for about 8 years. Can you imagine going back, or are you now the proverbial unemployable?
Yeah, I don't I don't think I could go back to the 9 to 5 job in the cube doing the things. I don't think I could do that. I did help my son out of his business, and I'm a greeter. Hi, welcome to kind of thing. And here you go, and yeah, there you go, you're good. I can do that.
Okay.
Here and there, a few times a month, that's good. But to go back to the 9 to 5, you're in a cube, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and you have to do it this way because this is the corporate way. Mm-mm, no.
No,
And this is kindness. When I get up in the morning, I think, I get to spread kindness. And that's just the most beautiful thing I can think of. I no longer get up and go, yeah, you have to go to that cube. No, I get to go spread kindness. And you spread smiles everywhere. So
and
yeah.
bubbles, and bubbles.
I love my bubbles.
So, what's the name of your book?
The name of my book is Raising Kind Children, and it's got a little awards sticker on there. And it is a process. It's a simple, straightforward process. It's a quick read on purpose because I know how busy parents are. And the process is simple. And it basically goes from the basic hold the door, smile and say hello, pay for the coffee before, all those kind of things. Pay, the meal, the neighbor down the street is ill, take a meal down to them. Somebody else just had a baby. What can we do to help them? And from that simple day-to-day stuff that you go through in your life, I think that's what I want to impress the most is you can incorporate this into your world, whatever you run into. It's really easy to do that. And then you're making it as natural as breathing.
Yeah. But that's so
And
old-fashioned.
but
No, I'm
it's
saying
so
that
needed.
but it really does seem like, and I don't think it's just since COVID, because even during COVID, one of our neighbors got sick and he was a single person. And I knew that there was nobody checking in on him or could be checking in on him consistently. Definitely not. And so, so I did. I brought over the Gatorade or I checked or I sent text messages, hey, check, things like that. But I felt because that is who I am. But I felt also like I wondered if anybody else was even thinking of doing that for people. And I really do. I'm concerned about the lack of kindness in many ways, or the lack of, I don't, it's not even just kindness, it's almost human decency to check on the couple that had the baby or the elderly person who's broken their leg or something. It seems like we could be doing more, but it also feels like those are bygone days somehow.
It does. And that's why I wanted to emphasize it's going back to basics.
Yeah,
It's so going back to basics. I have an 89-year-old neighbor, and even though her family does check on her, I check on her because I'm right here.
right.
And if she, she could fall down the steps and not have her phone. So I'll, check in with her every once in a while.
Yeah,
Those kind of things. But it's just looking out for each other. And how do you want to be treated?
yeah,
And it's being intentional. When you get up in the morning, you know, what are you going to do when you're sitting there with your cup of coffee? What kindness, act of kindness are you going to do today? That's being intentional. And I know I have a niece that writes stuff on a little chalkboard, or now it's a whiteboard, I think, in their kitchen. And it's the kindness thought of the week.
mm,
And I think you said it earlier, what kids do when we're not watching. And her sixth grader, now this has been a couple years ago, but her sixth grader was at lunch and noticed there's the kid in a wheelchair, and he can't carry the lunch tray and push his wheelchair. So he went over, no one told him. He went over and asked, "Can I carry that tray for you?" And the kid goes, "Oh, thank goodness. I was trying to figure out how to do it." And then he goes, "Well, where do you want to sit?" And he goes, "Oh, I don't know." "Well, come sit with us."
yeah.
Well, my nephew is an athlete, and he sits with mostly athletes or his friends. Well, the kid in the wheelchair knows every sports statistic out there.
Ah,
They had that their 3 years in junior high, they all just had a ball, and they were all such close friends during that time. Now they've gone off to all these different high schools, but it made that experience so much nicer for that kid that could have had a pretty lonely time.
yeah,
But again, mom and dad weren't watching. No one was really watching. And the kid in the wheelchair, they learned so much and made this amazing friend they wouldn't have known had they not reached out.
yeah, yeah. It's such a small and yet such a big thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna, ask you about how can people get in touch with you. I have one more question after that. I'm just gonna say quickly, I read a book and it's also a very small book. And it's called Holy Moments by Matthew Kelly. And kind of the same
Yeah,
idea. It's like every moment that's in front of us, we do have the option of turning it into something good or just letting it just happen. Or of course the opposite as well. But
right.
we can be intentional. We can choose to make every moment a holy moment or a kind moment. So, how do people reach you? Where can they find you? What's your favorite social media?
My favorite social media, well, there's Facebook, there's YouTube. I've got them all. Hey, you can find me at YouTube, and it's Journey in Kindness, which is what my company is called. And it's Journey in Kindness with Teresa Ramirez. You can also reach me at my website, which I have provided you a link as a freebie for your audience, and they can get 75 acts of kindness. So if they're stuck with, I don't know what to do this week, you have a list of 75 things you can go through and let your kids pick it out as a family. So that's a freebie that's out on my Journey in Kindness website that you can get.
And we will put that below everywhere that we have this podcast and, of course, on YouTube as well. So definitely, wherever you're listening to or watching this Beyond the Business Plan, I hope that you will check that out below. So, Teresa, thank you. Um, boy, for somebody that is, so I was called to entrepreneurship as a child. Like I clearly wanted to be an entrepreneur a long, long, long time ago. Um, what would you tell somebody who's not didn't really grow up that way, didn't really grow up thinking that they wanted to be, because you didn't. You had a good steady job. You actually took early retirement and then became an entrepreneur. So I think some people might think, oh, I'm too, you know what, OLD to do something like that. What would you tell those people about stepping into entrepreneurship, maybe post-retirement?
Yeah. First, I'd like to say you are never too OLD, ever, ever. And if there is something that, like, Journey of kindness, what God put this on my heart to do. So if you have something like that, or if you're something that you've been passionate about and wanting to do for years and years, just do it. Just find a place and start. Just jump in. And then you're going to meet, this is what happened to me. You meet people along the way that will help you out. And it's been an amazing journey, and it continues for me to meet and meeting people like you. So yeah. So
Well,
just my thing is just do it, and you're never too old.
yeah, you're just do it and you're never too old. Perfect. Well, thank you. It's such a pleasure to have you here. I look forward to having you come back to our Joyminder Leaders League as well, which is an invitation to others too. If you are an entrepreneur and you want to get your Monday morning started right, go check out my website, leannlyon.com. For those of you listening, LeAnn has 5 letters, LEANN. Lyon is LYON.com. And you can go to the events tab, find out all the different ways that you can connect with me or my company, which is called Joy Minder, which is your reminder to have joy in your business and in your life. Thank you, Teresa, so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Enjoyed it.
Good. And to our audience, on behalf of Teresa and myself, thank you for joining us today on the show Beyond the Business Plan to unleash your joyful business potential. And remember, entrepreneurship is a voyage you can take with others. So find your tribe for the journey. If kindness and joy is part of you, we'd love to get to know you as well. So give us a like or subscribe or whatever you do on your favorite podcast or video platform to keep shining and aligning with your purpose and Joyminder Solutions. And come on back next week, every week, twice a week. And until that time, I'm LeAnn Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer. By the way, you get to pick your title when you have your own company. Just saying. Signing off. Keep spreading with joy, leading with heart, and I will catch you on the next wave of success.